Hello and welcome to another edition of Diaspora Network, the show where we celebrate Nigerians who are doing exciting things across the globe. On the show today, we turn the spotlight on Nigeria's young visionaries. Our special report takes a look at the contributions of young Nigerians in the diaspora who come back home to establish successful startups. Plus, we bring you the amazing story of Blessing Abeng. She created a niche for herself in the tech and branding communication space, a feat that has earned her a spot on the Forbes Africa 30 Under 30 list. We have a rich package for you over the next 30 minutes. But first, let's take the news wrap for this week.
Earlier this month, the UK government announced it would halt active recruitment of health workers to combat Nigeria's workforce crisis, following a report by the World Health Organization, which identified the nation in need of healthcare development support. According to the General Medical Council, the United Kingdom currently homes over 11,000 Nigerian-trained doctors. Recently, the Nigerian Medical Association's organization, which consists of representatives in America, Great Britain and Germany, has petitioned against the National Assembly over a bill which requires medical and dental graduates to work in Nigeria for a minimum of 5 years before being granted full license to practice in their field. The NMA have argued that the major drivers of JAPA, including high insecurity, career growth and job satisfaction, has pushed many young professionals to move, and they have called on the Speaker to embrace purposeful systematic solutions to ensure a long-term change. 18-year-old Italian-Nigerian volleyball star Giulia Ituma has died after falling from the 6th floor of a Turkish hotel she was staying in. Giulia was born in 2001 in Milan to Nigerian parents, and she started playing volleyball at the age of 11. She was considered one of the most promising talents in Italian volleyball and had just started her first season with the notable Igor Gongozola Novara club. The incident came just hours after her team lost a game in a Champions League semi-final clash against their Turkish components. CCTV footage shows the young teenager slowly walking down the corridor to her room before sitting by her door for an hour, seemingly in deep thought. She then goes inside for the last time. Local media reported that her body was found outside the hotel at around 5:30 a.m. the following morning, where she was pronounced dead by paramedics shortly after. Her club said that her sudden death is a deep pain. In a statement, the Italian Volleyball Federation described Giulia's death as a tragedy that affects the Italian sport and volleyball world, and that they would be hosting a minute of silence for the next few games. Amazon has released their first ever African original film, Gangs of Lagos. It's the first film to come out of the streamer's 3-year deal with filmmaker Jadesola Osiberu, the creator of hit film Sugar Rush and the 2017 film Isokun, and is the platform's latest attempt to outflank Netflix as Africa's go-to streaming platform. The movie is based in Isale-Eko, Lagos, and is centered around characters Ifi, Gift, and Obalola, who are brought into local gang wars following the death of a father figure, with themes of revenge and loss running throughout. The gritty action crime thriller features a star-studded cast with the likes of Adesue Tomi, Tobi Bakare, and Bimbo Ademoye. From London, Teniola Oyetayo for Diaspora Network News Wrap.
The saying that life begins at 40 used to be popular. Not anymore, as life begins much earlier for Nigeria's young achievers in the diaspora. Many of them achieved greatness well before they clock 30, establishing startups whose success can rival that of top businesses worldwide. Let's take a look.
Entrepreneurship is an integral aspect of any economy, and this is because business owners drive innovation and play key roles in the area of job creation. Every generation experiences its share of talented young minds whose inspirational works are driving development in countries where they reside and beyond. global recognition of Nigerian startups, the significant growth of businesses, as well as the opportunities these businesses create, is a clear indication of the influence and potential of Nigerian entrepreneurs. Many of these achievers are making positive contributions both, and the expertise gathered in the diaspora are harnessed when they come home and establish startups. And here's how we know. Chika Madubuko is a seasoned business professional in the information technology sector and a young global leader with over 7 years' experience. She is passionate about startups, business process transformation, and solving business problems with technical solutions. Over the years, she's led teams to triple companies' revenue and worked closely with project stakeholders to change the business landscape of blue-chip companies such as Amazon, and her experience spans 3 continents: North America, Africa, and Europe. Chika founded Africa's pioneer tech-enabled home care platform, Greymate Care. She has so far signed dozens of partnerships with notable institutions including Société Générale, Intel, UNDP, Renault, and Lagos State Employment Trust Fund. Greymate Care is one of Africa's fastest growing businesses and has measurable social impact and track records. She holds an MSc from the University of Hertfordshire, and she's a Forbes 30 Under 30 honoree. Arambian, a Woman in Tech Africa laureate, and listed amongst 100 leading ladies in Africa Women in Tech list. "28-year-old Temidayo Nyosho is a space scientist and businessman. He's the founder and managing director of Space in Africa, a leading analytics and consulting company focusing on the African space and satellite industry. He also works as Chief Technology Officer of Ideal Space Technologies, and before this, he was the African Regional Coordinator for the Space Generation Advisory Council. He earned a bachelor's degree in meteorology from the University of Technology, Akure, and a master's in satellite application from the University of Strathclyde, Glasgow. He is a doctoral student at the University of Delaware, where he researches the global political economy of outer space development. Temidayo's over 7 years' experience in the industry has seen him advise governments and top commercial space players in the industry value chain. The success and innovative nature of Temidayo's work has led him to clinch numerous awards, including the Forbes Africa 30 Under 30, the 2020 Carmen Fellowship, and the 2016 International Astronautical Federation's Emerging Space Leadership Award. He was listed in New Space People 2018-2019 global ranking of the top 200 movers and shakers in new space. Nigerian entrepreneur Melody Fidel Okwazu recently won the Outstanding Entrepreneur Missionary Award at the United Kingdom Investors Summit in London. The award is a celebration of Okwazu's entrepreneurial and philanthropic achievements in the areas of youth and startup mentorship, coaching, empowerment, and grant disbursement spanning across Nigeria and Africa. He has mentored over 5,000 persons and also financed and supported over 100 new businesses. Okwazu is a personality who is making a huge difference in Africa and the world at large through his business and entrepreneurship coaching platforms. These and many more young Nigerian trailblazers are redefining what business and entrepreneurship means. Although they sometimes encounter challenges while at it, they are unrelentingly exploring new ways to serve a greater purpose while inspiring others both home and abroad.
Our Diaspora Network is all about Nigerians doing great things in various sectors. So today, we bring you the interesting story of a young Nigerian lady who wanted to save lives by becoming a neurosurgeon. But her creative side got the better part of her, and she ended up in branding and communication.
Blessing Abeng is a branding and communications expert dedicated to help brands identity and communicate their unique identity. She's also the co-founder and director of communications at Ingressive for Good, where she drives the mission of the nonprofit to create and increase the earning power of 1 million African youth through tech training and resources for the growth of the African startup ecosystems. She has worked with brands across industries in unique capacities, nationally and globally. She co-founded Disha, a digital technology company, which was later acquired by Flutterwave in 2021. Her skills and vision makes her an ecosystem leader who wears many value-driven hats, which haven't gone unnoticed. In 2022, she was recognized as one of the United Nations 100 most influential persons of African descent under 40 in the philanthropy sector and a nominee of the same award in the creative sector in 2021. She was also recognized by Niger as one of the 100 most powerful youths in Nigeria. Her most recent recognition is being listed as one of Forbes Africa's 30 under 30 change makers and pioneers in business, technology, creatives, sports science, and health. Blessing has trained over 5,000 creators in branding, communications, marketing, and business. She currently curates and nurtures a growing community of over 60,000 individuals inspired by her strides and interested in learning more about branding, communications, and business growth.
What are key things you can do to help your business grow? Number one, have clear goals. When you have clear goals, it's easy to see where you're going and how you're going to get there. Any decision that we're taking is towards this particular goal that we have already set for ourselves. The number two thing you really need to pay attention to is, what is your brand? And while you're thinking about that, think about the promise that you're making. What is the promise that you're making to your target audience, your customers, your stakeholders, and the people that are around you? What is that promise? It is your job and your responsibility to keep that promise, to be able to come out on top and show a level of credibility so that your people can know you and trust you.
She also mentors youth in communities like She Leads Africa, Seed Stars, African Entrepreneurship Awards, amongst others. When she's not working, she's creating content or writing columns for top sites like Business Day, Connect Nigeria, and many more. Blessing Abeng has become a force in the marketing and communications industry alongside building successful companies from the ground up. Blessing Abeng is happily married to Uwem Owemakpan.
Coming up next on Diaspora Network, our conversation with Blessing Abeng, a celebrated brand and communications strategist. Welcome back to the program. Now, Blessing Abeng wanted to be a medical doctor, but she ended up becoming someone that brands turn to for healing. We had a chat with her, and here's what we found out. Welcome to Diaspora Network, Blessing.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's fantastic to have you sitting in the chair. So obviously you've been celebrated, and it's a lot. So let's start from Forbes Africa. Let's start from there.
I mean, it was surreal when I saw the message. I got the email, and we weren't allowed to, talk about it yet until it was public. And that just it was quite validating, to be honest. But I've always said, you don't need lists to validate you. Let your work validate you. And I guess it's the results of the work that have spoken for me. So it's such an honor.
Just talk us through that journey of wanting to study medicine, save lives, and then you ended up in branding. How?
I know. So funny story. I think I shared it once. My mom, when she had two of us, she came home one day and she was crying and she was praying for us, and we were surprised. It took years later for us to understand that someone had told her she had no kids. Mm-hmm. And she was like, no, but I have two daughters. And they're like, no, you don't have a child until you have a son. And that took her back. And she came home, and maybe it made her think about the challenges we were going to face as girls, as girl children. But they didn't let that limit how they trained us. In fact, it fueled them to train us to be limitless. So I never thought I could be and like I knew I could always be anything that I wanted to be, and that's how it was instilled in me. And going from there, I wanted to save lives really early because a doctor had saved my father's life, and I felt, oh, I want to be a doctor too. I wanted to be a neurosurgeon, and there weren't a lot of neurosurgeons back then. I was so impressed and happy about it until I went to school.
Reality check.
I know, it's like I was in biochemistry and I did internship for a while, for a couple of months, and I just, during that period, it was intense. I think I taught so much about saving lives, but I did not deal with the part of, you know, having to face someone and tell them, oh, you know, what if I lost their life while I was trying to save the life, you know? And just that sort of held me back and said, you know, maybe there are other ways to save lives. Do you want to explore those? And then I started to write business plans. My dad was a businessman as well, so it was really easy to have a reference point. And I joined a club in school. We were asked to write business plans. I learned how to write a business plan, and suddenly it started to blow up. People would pay me money to write business plans for them, and everybody was like crazy about my marketing plans, and they're like, your marketing plans are so creative. So there was this balance between my logic and my magic, and people loved that so much until a friend of mine said, listen, have you heard of branding? It wasn't popular then. I Googled it. I loved what I saw. I went to a school for it, and the rest is history. You know, I worked in an agency, I worked in normal organizations, small businesses, huge businesses, and it really it helped me build up character. I began to also make my own deductions about the things that I would like to see in a brand, and that has really helped form my perception. And that's where I've gone on to be like co-founder and CMO of a tech company that eventually got acquired, now co-founder of a company that is an edtech nonprofit, rather, that is training African youth with tech skills.
So make this distinction for us, because it's so difficult these days, especially with social media. When you hear branding, everybody's talking about being a brand influencer, or I'm into branding. And it's almost like it's a catchphrase. What's the difference between just branding, you know, perhaps a pair of shoes or etc., and what you've now been able to achieve in terms of making this a business that's recognized internationally?
Okay, perfect. I think branding is who you are consistently as your audience and target audience interacts with you. What I personally do is that I help you find what is unique about you or your business, and then I help you put that together and tell it as a story, or, you know, communicate that effectively to your target audience. And that could be your customer, your co-founder, whoever that needs to be. Yes, everybody recognizes what a brand is, but one of the examples I like to use is you can't just look at a product and say this is a brand, because a brand is not a name, it's not a product, it's not a service. It's all of those things working together in tandem, right? You look at yourself and you're like, this is where I am now, this is where I want to go to. Branding is the journey getting you to that place. So I don't believe in fake it till you make it. I believe you should grow into it, and the process of branding can help you with that. Yeah.
I mean, looking at your CV, long as it is, there's some really, really impressive companies there. Flutterwave, Facebook.
So funny story, Flutterwave acquired a tech company that I used to be a co-founder of, and probably that's why you saw it in my CV.
Right. So you started that off with someone. Yeah.
Well, I started the tech company with a friend. So they started it. They brought me in and said, "Blessing, we need you to bring your magic and make this company grow and reach the people that we wanted to reach." So I came on board as the CMO and co-founder, and we ran it for almost a year. And it got enough traction, and, you know, the tech giants said, you know, this is in line with what we want, and they bought it.
So is it about, what's the drive for you? So when you started it up, because I see there's quite a lot in terms of your experience, and not just in one particular sort of field. Do you lose interest after you've started it off and then on to the next?
Not at all. I think that the beautiful thing about things like branding and communications is you create the foundation for it to thrive. You can't be the only one driving it for it to thrive. You know, I love to build communities, but my favorite communities are the communities that don't need me to keep running. You know, you have to build it and let it live, let it have its own life, whether you're there or not. And that's how you know it's successful, right? Because with or without you, because I mean, if I die, it's still going to go on.
It outlives you.
It outlives you. And that's how you know you've done your job. So I'm always excited to be part of people's vision and say, you know, this thing you're trying to build, let's work together, let's make it work. Training is not easy, for sure, but I think it's very rewarding. Rewarding in the sense that I can't be the only one doing the thing that I know how to do. right? So as much as I can share that knowledge and pass it on to someone else, I'm always very excited to do that. So I've trained people in branding and communications, and I'm happy to just pass it across so that I am not the only branding expert. There are many other people who are like me and who would birth more people and birth more and more people. But through Ingressive for Good specifically, we've been training people with tech skills, and it was because we found a gap. People want these skills, but it's really, really expensive to get. It's really, really expensive, especially if you're going for like quality training and all of that. So we wanted to bear the financial burden and then help people access the courses and the skills that they need. And we've partnered with so many global organizations to make that happen. So far, we've gotten like 364,000 applications across all of Africa. Wow. And we've trained 132,000 of those people. So I'm not the only co-founder. We are 3. So Maya, I, and then Sean, we're 3 of us, and so it makes it easier to manage. I've always been lucky. I've always had co-founders, and so that helps to bear the burden together. But beyond that, one of the biggest challenges we have is, of course, funding. Because we're a nonprofit, we don't give anybody equity back. If you give us money, you're doing it out of the kindness of your heart. You're not going to get anything back. You're just going to see people's lives get better and be happy.
That's it. In this environment where obviously the bottom line is the bottom line.
Yeah, but like people investment is the best investment if you really think about it, right? Because it may look like it's not directly benefiting you, but it's directly benefiting the ecosystem with which you're thriving. Reduces the rate of crime. There's so many factors and benefits, but you have to be a long-term thinker to plug into things like that. I posted something on my social media the other day and I asked, if nothing was a problem, if nothing was stopping you, if money was not a problem and you were 100% sure that you would succeed, what would you be? And people said things that were 100% realistic. So the question then becomes, why are you not doing it? Sometimes the challenge is access.
Exactly.
Access. And one of the things that we've been able to do with the nonprofits is democratize access.
You have all this experience of international brands. You're widely traveled, you're widely studied, widely read. What sort of gaps do you find working out of the Nigerian space or working out of the Africa space? Are there any gaps to the success that you've attained so far? What would you like to see?
To be honest, I think it's just truly back to access. Access helps with exposure. Access helps you realize, okay, these are opportunities, right? It's very rare for you to find a child who wants to just be an aeronautic engineer, and then when they're 19, they still want to be an aeronautic engineer, and they're still in particular African countries, right? It's going to be difficult. Where are they going to learn those things? Mm-hmm. We don't have enough space, or people are basically focused on the basics. Yeah. They're trying to survive. You have to get to a certain level in your life where survival is not the goal. You need to find a why that is strong, a why that's, for me, my why is very simple. I just want to leave people a little bit better than I meet them. I just want to meet people and just leave them a little bit better. Even environments that I walk into, I just want to leave it a little bit better. There's no job that I do that I don't do with excellence. For me, it's not about where I'm working. It's that every single thing that I do, anything that has my name on it, as long as I am there, it has to be excellent. We have to give it our best shot. But beyond that, also putting one foot in front of the other, because truly none of us have it figured out. Do your best to show the work. Share your results. Let people know, because by sharing those results, you're reaching people who otherwise have the same pain and need you as a solution. So you don't have a solution and hide it.
So when you're not writing a business plan, or you're not thinking through the next startup, what do you do to relax?
I love to experience and experiment things.
Okay.
I'm a big fan of that. I just love to experiment, because I always say that the goal of an experiment is not to be right, but to discover, right? And so you're starting, you don't know what it's going to be. You might be wrong, you might fail, but that's the thrill,
Like experiment?
With anything, food, travels, even with work. Like, oh, it might not work, but let's try it, right? Just the willingness to try is such a big game changer for me.
Well, how would you like to be remembered? I mean, that is a funny question.
No. This is a question that I really, really love, just because I know that I always say we didn't come to life to just make money and die. Because if that was the case, we would take the money with us as we're leaving. It would be in our spiritual bank accounts, but it's not. It's not there.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, and so it makes sense to me that the reasons that we all exist, our single purpose is contribution. The little that put it out there in the world and help somebody else let that be the starting point for someone else. And that's all I want to do. I just want to contribute, share as much as I know, so other people can use it as their starting point. They don't have to go start from scratch. I just want to be that back people can climb on to get to their next step.
Yeah. And without dragging that on, what's next for you? Pretty quickly.
Right now, I am just really focused on experimenting.
Okay.
You'll never know my next move. When it comes up, you're going to call me back and we're going to chat about it.
Okay, smart word, nice. Thank you so much, Blessing Abeng. Congratulations.
Thank you so
once
much.
again with your work. Good luck. And we're looking out for you on Diaspora Network. Thank you
so much.
That's a beautiful story of making an impact early in life. Nigeria is indeed blessed with so many youths like Blessing Abeng, whose accomplishments belie their age. And that's the show this week. You can catch all editions of Diaspora Network on our website, channelstv.com. I'm Ijoma Onyato. See you next time.